your boy Lucanio. Today I'll be showing how to soft cut a fade. Please do like, comment, and share for your boy that doesn't have a good haircut. Look at that. That's what I was showing. For this first part, what you want to do is you want to put your clipper on the guard that you'll be cutting your top part of the head with, and then just cut that throughout the whole head to make it equal. Make sure that you cut forward if you're waving, because I was wolfing for a very long time, so I have to cut in the way I brush. But be careful not to bump your glasses or anything, because I did that a couple of times and I had to take them off eventually. Now, what you want to do next is you want to create what I call the frame, where you create two lines on opposite sides of the head in order to allow you to see what you're doing when you create the full line around the whole head. How you do this is you fully close the lever, meaning you put it on maybe bold, kind of like, and you just draw on both sides a line. This will help you when you have to draw the line around the whole head. Now what you want to do is you want to use your big mirror in order to see the reflection of the whole head. And on this video I'm using my phone as my second mirror, but it's most preferred if you use a bigger mirror or a round handheld mirror, because that's what I usually use when I'm not using my phone. But today was my first time actually cutting my hair using the selfie camera of a phone. What you then want to do is you want to move closer towards the mirror in order to get that precise line going. It doesn't have to be perfect, but try to start off on a lower level so that it's easier to keep on adjusting higher. It's better to adjust higher than not having any room to adjust because you're too high. So start as low as possible and then just clean up as you go. Now it's a strategy that I use to cut. There's many other strategies you can use, but if you're right-handed to cut your left side, it gets a bit tricky. But in this way, I can just look at the mirror as my normal, and it doesn't confuse me. It takes some time to learn the strategy, but as soon as you perfect it, it's easier to get those precise lines going. I could release a separate video on how to do the strategy, but that would mean we'd have to get to at least 500 subscribers. So please do like this video, please do share this video, and I will ensure I take out another video on how to do these specific strategies on how to cut your hair. Sometimes it may be hard to adjust what you're looking at, so just make sure that you always see what you're doing. I just had to flip around my camera there, as you saw, because it wasn't wide enough. I could use the super zoom out for my phone, but that would make it a bit obscured, I think. Don't forget to clean up as you go. You will use a trimmer in the end to clean up all of the other parts, but it's most preferred that you do as much as you can as you go. Now it's time to start with the fade. So what you do is you put on 1/5 open lever, and what you want to do is you want to take an inch each time you pass. You don't want to take too much, with a strategy where you brush it a bit up every time you do it. So you touch their hair, and when you hear the hair cut, then that's when you move up. As you can see, I touch it and I move my clipper up. It does take some time to adjust to the mirror, but make sure as soon as your clipper touches your head, you are brave enough, and you have to be confident here to cut the hair. One thing I always remind myself is whatever I cut, I know I'm going to have to wear it. So if you can just remember that and know that you'll wear it, then you'll be good. Then you adjust again, just a bit up on the open lever from closed to a 2/5. As you can see, you'll see a difference when you cut, but don't forget it's an inch from where you come from and you'll see it. As you can see, the hair is getting a bit darker as I cut, and I'm only removing an inch, and then I scrape up as soon as I hear the haircut. So another crucial tip is that when you hear the razor blade touch the hair, that's when you're supposed to scrape up, or that's the best time to scrape up. One thing you shouldn't worry about is like making small mistakes. As long as you keep to your inch per time, then you can keep moving. Now it's time to adjust to a 3/5. This is a bit more open, but you will see the difference if you have opened it a bit more than the previous one as you cut your hair. And don't forget, it's really crucial you take only an inch, as this will allow you to have space and leeway for any mistakes, because today I'll be doing a high fade. And the lower that you want your fade, that means the more leverage you need to have. As you can see, it's getting a bit faded, and that's more the look I'm going for. So today I decided to only do a tutorial on the harder side, which is my left side, because I'm right-handed. It's more easier to cut your right side when you're cutting your hair. But I did a video so that you can see the strategy for the left side and how I cut it. I only take an inch. It's not easy. It did take me a couple of times, but each and every time I cut my hair, I always make sure that whatever I cut, I have to be confident in it. That's all that matters. Now we adjust the lever again, a little bit more open now, 4/5, and that's why it's a 5-step, because it's open lever 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's more like a scraping motion that you're trying to do, but you're trying to not go in too deep each time you go. As you can see, a little bit of a fade is kicking in at the front, but I'm trying to now even it out on all sides. Most people would usually leave it at this point if they wanted a more lower fade, but I really wanted a high fade today because I feel like I'm starting the school semester, So a higher means that less time or more time for me to spend without cutting my hair. Now I'll do a fully open lever just to get up more on the top. As you see, there's a big difference as from the adjusting of the levers, meaning it's a really crucial step that you have to do. I'm still taking an inch when I take, and here there's leeway to also touch a bit on the other parts of the hair that you've already faded, just to adjust. But it's always better to adjust to the full lever than a more closed lever. Now finally, this is the most important step. This is what brings the fade together. So the length that you cut the hair at the top is what you put the guard in, but you roughly now cut the fade with that same length just to ensure that it blends together. Now you can go in a bit on the top, but this will remove some hair, but it's still a one guard that's closed, specifically closed for me. Whichever one you do, just make sure that you roughly do it on the sides just to kick in that fade. It really does help, as you can see on the side. I just need to do a bit more on the back now. Finally, you just brush with the blush brush. That's what we usually call it. And another step that makes it really neat is to use a trimmer to just kick in that boldness. Now what you do with the trimmer is that you put it face down, and you just touch the fade. You try not to go in too deep with the trimmer, as it will make it bold, but you try to touch it, and then you go harder as you go down. So you touch the part that's faded, and then you go down with it a bit in order to just make it fade in some more. You do that on both sides. As you can see, I've already done the right side, as that's super simple. It doesn't need your hand to turn or anything. Lastly, I'm just making some adjustments to the front. I really felt they weren't aligning too much, so that's what you can do. And you see that motion of just scraping it and going up, scraping it and going up. And this is me adjusting the last part. And if you've made it this far, I'd just like to remind you to not forget to hit that subscribe button and notifications for new, innovative, simple ways of self-cutting, self-trimming, and anything that involves self-care. Please just subscribe. It really does go a really long way. It only costs $3.99. This here is my review. I hope you enjoyed. I really loved the look. A lot of people stopped me in town asking me where did I get the cut, and I love telling them it's myself that did it, because that gives me a lot of confidence. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and share the video. What is a good look without a nice trim? So I just giving myself a nice eyebrow trim at the end, and this is the final product.